Hey, it's Andrew Downs. I'm proud to support Three Beards Media, and I would love to work with you. If you need merchandise for your company, organization, band, softball team, whatever, I can help. From name brand apparel to promotional items, large orders or small, online stores, and more, I can help your brand stand out. AKC Marketing is local, based in Johnston, and we are an employee-owned business, so our costs are low and our turnaround times are fast. But most importantly, we give you personal service to make sure you get exactly what you're looking for. Email me at andrew@akcmarketing.com or find me on social media and let's make some cool stuff together. Now sit back and enjoy this Three Beards Media podcast.
In the Side of the Storm, where we talk all things Cyclones. We are live from the AKC Marketing Studio with Andrew Downs and sponsored by Rebelton Distilling Company out of Osceola, Iowa, and Dan Douglas with Green Beret Realty. I'm Dave Larson here with my Storm Team partner and Cyclone great, the legend, Marcus Pfizer. Good evening, Marcus. How are you?
I'm doing well, Dave. How about yourself?
I'm good. You know, I really need to get smarter because it seems like we always have such great discussions either through text chain or no one will know this, but we had some good conversation about some prior basketball history that maybe we'll get into tonight. Maybe we'll do it another night, but enjoyable nonetheless.
Absolutely. Just life. Just kicking it is what we call it.
All right. Men's basketball. Last week we talked with JC Holloway a little bit about some of the funk missing Momcilovic. But now it feels like a little bit of a free fall. Really started with that 3/4 length shot made by Arizona's Caleb Love that put the game into overtime. We ended up losing. Since that time, we've lost 2 more. Saturday at home against, I don't think that was a very good Kansas State team. And Jerome Tang, 80-61. We gave up 80 points to Kansas State. And then just this 2 days ago on Big Monday down in Lawrence, Kansas, losing to the same Kansas team that we beat by 17 at home. We went down there and lost by 17. So where do we start with the men's team? What are some of the things that you're seeing, and might want to clean it up for the boys and girls at home?
Man, I don't know. I don't know if the guys have gotten tired or, it just seems like something all of a sudden is just not clicking like it was. You said the Arizona game is when the losing began, but we had a couple shaky, close games before that, including in Arizona State. When they ended up, pulling it out in the end, but it was still shaky to me. So since then, it's been something I just cannot identify. This team has turned into, a club that I cannot understand or get a grip on what's going on. Hopefully Curtis is going through the worst shooting slump in his life, and hopefully it's definitely behind him now. But, we're just not getting the stops we need to. It almost feels like, they're running in quicksand and nothing seems to go right, at the moments that we need them to. So It's just hard for me to identify what's going on. Quite disappointing to be honest. You know, from what we've come from, everything that we've done all year long, all season long, is extreme hard work that they put in to see us losing to these teams. Like I can see and understand. You know, early on we were winning some close ones. You know, I can see and understand the losses if they've been close. They hadn't even been close. It seems like it's a team that's just now trying to figure things out when I thought we had already figured them out.
Well, and you look at the schedule. Hey, look, every team, good and bad, you go through struggles throughout the season. It's not going to be perfect. You're not going to win every game, and inevitably you're going to go through a certain valley. Feels like we're going through it and started in the valley, the Sun Valley, whatever you call that, the Desert Valley in Arizona.
Right.
And you're right, we did have some pretty tight games, but boy, to have Kansas State come in and snap that 29 game home winning streak, I was expecting a different team maybe to snap that, not Jerome Tang and Kansas State.
Yeah, I was looking forward to that being their bounce back game after losing that heartbreak in Arizona. That next team that comes in, especially at home, you know, you got to turn that into a practice game where you just, all out, blow them out the water. But it's like one of those situations where there's been games that I've been in where it just feels like, you know, you don't have any wind, your legs are heavy, you know, you're missing dunks that you would normally make, layups are rolling off, and that game, that was the type game that it was that came after losing to Arizona. So you're like, man, once that happened, and then we lose two in a row, now we got to go on the road to Lawrence. It's going to be a hard road getting the win down there. We've lost how many straight there, 11 or 12 or something? So now we're three in a row. The TCU game is next, big Monday. You know, hopefully we can rebound from that. Is that the next game?
I think we play Saturday
first?
against TCU, yeah.
Oh,
Which I think that might be a whiteout game. I'll have to check on that schedule, but I don't know. I think everyone goes through these rough patches, and I'm not going to dismiss this team yet because I think all the pieces are there. But you know, when you get this far into the season, there's no going back, right? What, as a player, and you have done some coaching as well, our coach, how do you get through this? How do you coach through it? How do you play through it to get through to the other side? Is it as simple as bringing back Momcilovic? Is it something else that needs to be done? Do you give additional rest days? Do you step up the practice intensity? What do you do to try to combat this to change the tide?
Well, Larry would definitely step up the practice intensity without a doubt. But it's uncharted waters for right now to the moment. Like you said, you don't expect to win every game, even though as a player mentally you expect to win every game. But you know, I expected it to be. It's a Big 12. You know, we got Houston, we got Kansas. You know, we got some tough teams in this league. Got some new teams: Arizona State, Utah, teams like that. You know, you got to go into the road to try to get those big wins. Colorado is always tough. I didn't see three in a row, so now that's what's scary to me. You know, I can see losing one or maybe two if we had two back-to-backs on the road. But this team has always shown us this year that, you know, we can, for lack of better words, you know, thug out a game on the road and, you know, keep it moving. Win the game in Arizona State and then lose a close one because of the half-court heave in Arizona. You know, but now, okay, we lost that one. Coming back home, it's time to reset. Not, you know, lose that one. Home, get blown out. Go on the road, get blown out. And now we're sitting, you know, wondering. You know, there's only so many, team meetings that you can have. It's not a finger pointing thing. It's you digging from within, deep yourself and figure out where did this train get off a track.
Well, there's still a lot to play for, and you're right. We've got Momcilovic coming back, and he apparently participated Monday in Lawrence and pregame warmups, and they showed some video of him shooting some balls. So that's going to be a good sign when he does return. It feels like one of the big concerns, though, is off the bench. We're not getting much offensive production. We're used to Curtis Jones in that 6-man role coming in and making 20 to 25 points a game. Now we're not really getting that. So when you turn to the bench, it's really just to help fill in for some minutes, play some defense. Again, I'll come back to Demarion Watson. I love the energy that he provides in the game, defensively, offensively. He's not going to be one of those guys that's going to come out and make 10 or 15 points, but he's going to give you a couple buckets. It really feels like we need some firepower off that bench. That's my concern there is what are we seeing off the bench?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, maybe when Milan come back, and if he's inserted back into the starter role and Curtis comes off the bench, that's, the dynamic that we've been missing. I know with the talent and how we've been playing, so many games before the losing streak, it's been working out. But if that isn't necessarily the MO of the structure of the ball club, then eventually, like anything else, that will catch up to you. So, just hopefully, Saturday, I'm looking forward to it, man. Come on, I gotta get a blowout win on Saturday going into Sunday for the Super Bowl.
That would be nice. Here, Matt from Twitter is asking whether Momcilovic is going to dress on Saturday. I listened to the coach's show that was on Monday night or Tuesday night. I listened on a podcast version of it so I can do other errands and that. And TJ had made reference that he's probably not going to be active yet this week, and I assume this weekend as well, that he's closer to returning than not. I think that better would probably be the following weekend, the 15th. Would be my best guess, and which makes sense. I mean, you probably want to get a couple games in before the big showdown with Houston at Houston on the February 22nd. So my guess is going to be Saturday and then follow up with the Tuesday game before the Houston game.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we have TCU coming in at home. You don't want to obviously, underestimate them like Kansas State or whatever. But if we can, put a product out that we know we've been able to get that win, and then, buy them a little bit more time. It's always best if you can get more time and get more healing going on with that injury and things like that. So we don't, for the most part, when we're sitting record-wise and everything like that, we don't necessarily need them or not need them. We need, that kind of firepower and that kind of talent for when we get into the crux of the season and getting ready to go into the Big 12 tournament.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's one thing that TJ addressed in the coaching show too, is that fans forget that Sweet 16 year. That wasn't like a team that dominated the league. They came together at the right time, and this he wants everyone to just remember that this is a marathon, not a sprint. That, yeah, there are goals ahead in terms of winning the conference championship, winning the Big 12 tournament, but more importantly, how do you finish that season going into the NCAA? And still 7-4, the potential exists, although it really is a slim outside shot for the Big 12 regular season championship, and feels like he's got his eye on the tournament and the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, for the fans, we're all fans now. It's always sexy seeing, that 3 or that 2 or that chance of, moving up to number 1 if the number 1 loses. There's always something, great to see.
Yeah, that was fun to see us at number 2 and 3 in the country, man. Right?
So like today, I was looking up and there was, flags on the bottom line, ESPN, and I said, damn, we fell to number 8. Like, number 8 is in the top 10. But when you're used to and you're biased because it's your school, your team, and you're like, man, that's 3 and 2. But you get it, you understand. Like you know that really doesn't matter. We had Florida International that made it, deep into the tournament 3 years back. So as long as we play right, play good at the times that we need to, that's the most important thing.
Well, and where I work with a ton of Hawkeye fans, as most of us do. Got some Kansas fans as well. And I tell you, I'm walking around when we're ranked number 2 with that chest out, and I'm wearing my Cyclone gear to work more frequently than normal. So you're right. When you're number 2, it's something to be very proud of.
You see how beat up my hat has gotten. Love it.
Well, and some of the symptoms that we've been talking about is that the defensive rebounding, we're up and we're down. Sometimes we look great. Here recently during the skid, we haven't looked as good, although I think the last game was better. And that's one thing TJ pointed out as well. And getting a little sluggish, a little bit lazy. I won't call it lazy because I think that becomes a perception that we're not trying hard. I think that there's effort there, but clearly, when you're throwing passes away that normally you should not be doing, and you got to take advantage when you have the ball and value every single possession, especially this when we're playing these elite teams in the Big 12. You can't afford to turn the ball over.
Yeah, this comes to the time of the year where the focus has to be such a tunnel vision of what needs to be done. That nothing else matters. There were some times in interviews and things like that. Even, for example, I think I was on the cover of Sports Illustrated for some time before I ever even knew it, because I wasn't focused on nothing but winning. There was a lot of games that I was scoring a lot, and 30-some points per game in a row, whatever. But to me, it didn't feel like my play elevated. It just felt like that was the course of what was going on. I had phenomenal guards that can take a lot of pressure off of me. Jamal will get the ball in places. It didn't seem like I was working harder for an elevation. That just was the scheme of what the ball club was. And so once you have, that kind of mentality, everything is important. Like I said a couple of times before, like when we went into Kansas, I didn't assume, they got Chenoweth, they got Drew Gooden, Nick Collison, all these guys 6'10" and above. I probably won't get a dunk this game, nowhere close to the rim. I think I had 2 or 3 dunks in the game just off of play. Jamal drawing them or Contrell drawing them, and then it's a dump down, and then it's the quickest dunk ever because, it's the floor of the game. And so taking every possession until that last second is off the clock is very, very important, and something that you wouldn't think that was important going into the second half, 2 or 3 turnovers in a row, could be something you can never get back.
So I found, I'm going to try to post it here in a bit, your Sports Illustrated. What was that experience like for those of us at home who don't have that experience to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated? That's a big freaking deal, right? I mean,
somebody showed it to me.
We're so digital now. And how many copies do you own, and do you have a poster-sized version of it?
No, I own probably one.
What?
Probably one. Yeah. I don't even know what my McDonald's All-American ring is. My mom has my McDonald's All-American jersey. I've never been a big memorabilia guy. I don't know. It's always been weird. The memories type, things and all that different stuff. Like I don't have draft photos up or anything like that. It's just, I play ball and then, I just live a regular normal life. But like when I first was shown that cover, it's against Baylor. We're playing against Baylor, and I told them, I said, it's just 2 guys rebounding the ball. It's they probably talking about the guy from Baylor. Then you can see at the bottom it says, Iowa State player Marcus Fizer, and I was like, oh shit, I can't deny that no more. But I mean, it was literally in a time where I was so focused.
And there you are.
I was so focused on just winning. Like it looks like 2 guys just rebounding the ball.
But like, Sports Illustrated, like we all grew up with Sports Illustrated. Like you couldn't wait for that thing to hit your mailbox.
Yeah, man, I couldn't wait for that ball to hit the rim. Like I said, Dan, man, I was so focused during this time of basketball. Um, nothing else, nothing else really mattered. It was just winning, because even I think that shot is from the Big 12 tournament. Even doing then, whatever, they wasn't giving us the respect that we should have gotten. Um, like at the beginning of the Big 12 tournament, the whole passing you the trophy to hold it up to the crowd. The guy handed me the trophy. I handed it right to the guy beside me. Begin to walk off, and they was like, "No, man, you got to hold it up to the crowd." And I don't know, you can find that picture out. I think someone posted it the other day on Instagram, and I shared it or whatever. But my face was so, you know, I wasn't smiling. It wasn't a joyous sign because again, we're going into the Big 12 tournament, and after just winning the Big 12 regular season conference outright, they didn't feel like we was going to win the tournament. And so we heard all those noises, those mumbles and stuff like that. And so I was so pissed. That's why, Baylor felt the wrath of me that first game that we played him because it was just so much that was going on. It's like, what do we got to do? Yeah, I know we don't have Kansas on the front of our jersey or Missouri or all those different teams, Oklahoma State, but it was just so, disheartening to me that we put what we put on to the floor all season long and you still wasn't respecting us. So once I was showed that, I was like, none of that matters, man. I'm ready to get out here and hoop.
Got another question here from Matt on Twitter asking about Milan Momcilovic and what's the best case scenario for the team in your eyes, Marcus? He comes back. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to bring a player back into the fold and get that team camaraderie back. What are your thoughts? What's that process going to look like? And what do you do from a bench perspective? You've got Curtis Jones now that's inserted himself and has been a star.
But at this moment, Curtis hadn't been playing well, so maybe it will be a breath of fresh air for him, to get things back in line. Not to say that he lost himself or anything like that. Like the ball just isn't going in for him right now at this moment. So if that gives him, that changed the dynamic of things. Bringing Milan in and hopefully their stroke is still what it's always been. And then, you bring Curtis in off the bench and maybe he's found his touch. I wouldn't think, even in practice, Curtis's touch has been off. For whatever reason in games, it just hadn't been on. But when you have that shooting ability and that touch, I know that your teammates still believe in you, and it's all going to fall back into place. And, if we go back to the starting lineup that we had before and bring them off the bench, it's not about who starts the game. It's about who finishes. I remember my first couple of years in the NBA, I wasn't a starter, but, I was playing more minutes than the starter and ending the games. And so that was, something that was important. So hopefully, we can get them around to understanding that and, we can get back to winning.
Is it too late? Yeah, this guy keeps coming to mind, but Noyes Andrusaitis, freshman, looked fairly decent at times. Kind of looks physically like a very, very young Fred Hoiberg. Is he a guy that do you take a flyer on him just to see what he might add to the team, or are you just too far into the season that you don't want to disrupt any chemistry with the team?
Well, it's not if he's been in practice and he's been performing, I'm sure, the coaching staff knows what he's capable of and things like that. So you don't think of it as being a brand new thing. It may be a shock to the masses and to us, but there's a lot of different things that he probably can do that we hadn't seen that they know he can do. So whenever you can insert someone, it's a spice of life to have a variety of things. Let's see what happens. Let's see what works.
Another maybe piece of the puzzle that I think they've talked about on the broadcast a couple of games now is Taman's shooting thumb seems to maybe continue to bother him. Reports are that it's broken and not sure at what level. Boy, talk about a tough kid to be able to continue to play through an injury like that. We were talking even before this show, but what's the biggest injury that you had, and what's the most pain that you played through with that injury?
Well, I never had any injuries until I got into the NBA, and that's the only injuries I ever had was ACL. I tore my ACL 3 times, all right knee.
Really?
Yeah, none of them ever hurt. None of them ever hurt. You know, it felt like popping a finger on a knuckle on my finger or something like that. Like I remember the second time I tore it was the last game of the season in Indiana, and I just felt a little pop, and I put on 2 knee braces. That was in the first quarter. I finished the game. You know, so those weren't that bad. I would probably say the worst injury I had was at Iowa State. We were practicing in the Forker building, and you know the cushion on the bottom of the backboards, on the side of the backboard, the bottom of them. I don't know, somebody reached up there and knocked it down and brought it down or whatever. And I was going up to block a shot, and in between my webbing hit that corner and split it open. Like, real deep. And so,
it took me to squirting blood all over the place.
No, it wasn't. It was just a gash. That was gashed open. But by the time they took me to the hospital, it was all swollen on the inside, and they had to clean it out and numb it, and they put a couple of stitches in it. And so I was worried about not being able to play. This was my freshman year. Coach Wood said, "No, you playing." So they taped it up, everything like that. Had this big pad on it. I can hardly shoot or make baskets or anything like that, but I played the game. But I just remember that being so sore, really, really sore. Couldn't dunk anything like that. But other than that, I never really had a lot of, twisted ankles and things like that. I've never broken a bone in my life, knock on wood, and stuff. So, like I said, the ACLs pretty much hurt after the surgery, but not during the time that, the injury occurred. So, I don't know how it feels to break a bone, or, I know how bad it is. I was always particular about my fingernails, my fingertips, especially this one. That's the last finger to hit the ball when I shoot, on my thumb. So, like if a ball hits you too abruptly and it splits it, that's like getting a gunshot. But other than that, I never really had anything too drastic, thank God.
All right, so great story you shared before we got on live. One of your surgeries involved 2 very famous people.
Right.
Let's use that. Let's use that as a tease. We're going to come back and hear that story on the other side. We'll hear a word from our sponsor. Then you can tell us a story about these 2 very famous people that you sat between, just as a part of your surgery experience.
Hey, it's Andrew Downs. I'm proud to support 3.
Making great tasting bourbon requires the perfect combination of ingredients, conditions, and time. The longer it rests, the better it tastes. Revelton Distillery's new single barrel bourbon is made from 80% corn, sourced 100% from Iowa farmers. And unlike mass-produced bourbons, each barrel of Revelton's single barrel bourbon is unique, proofed on when it tastes best. As they like to say, it'll be ready when it's ready. And to ensure the highest standards of quality and flavor, owners Rob and Christy Taylor oversee the production and bottling. Every single barrel. Iowa born, Iowa aged, Iowa bottled. Try the new single barrel bourbon from Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com. When energy meets precision, anything is possible.
I'm Carter Hawley, the Chief Energy Officer of the Iowa State Cyclones. I'm full of energy on and off the court, but nothing gives me more energy than helping families find their dream home. And that's where Green Beret Realty comes in. They're more than just realtors. They're a team dedicated to getting things right for you and your family, just like we get it right on the court. Sometimes it takes a team to get the call right. And when you're buying a home, you want a team that makes all the right calls. That is Green Beret Realty. And here's the best part. When you buy or sell a home through Dan at Green Beret Realty and mention this ad, he'll make a donation to the We Will Collective, helping student athletes like me thrive on and off the court.
Green Beret Realty, because getting the call right means everything.
All right, we are back to the side of the storm. And Marcus, before the before the commercial break, we had a little bit of a tease. And while you're sharing that story, I am going to add to my beverage my favorites, Mulberry Gin by Rebelton. All right, so you were getting your knee surgery, your ACL. Which surgery is this? First, second, or third?
My second. I get my second ACL surgery done by Dr. James Andrews, the surgeon of the stars is what they call him.
The world.
He had done my first one, and I partially tore that one again. So he was going in to recomplete that over again. I was rolled in between the infamous Triple H and the Big Show. The Big Show was huge too.
Well, they're both huge.
I mean, Triple H wasn't big. Like the Big Show was like 7 foot, 7 something. He's bigger than me. But yeah, in between those two guys.
This is during their heyday. Are you looking over there going, what am I on? I'm sitting between. Is this for real?
Right. Yeah. I was extremely young at the moment, at that time. So we just had great talks, laughing and everything that was going on. I think both of them had torn tendons, which you typically, according to Dr. Andrews, you typically don't tear. You have a little assistance that's going along with that, but I was getting my ACL.
Did you get a discount for having him do it a second time?
Oh, no, this is all on the Bulls watch. It's all on their watch. So whatever needed to be done, they were taking care of the bill of that. So, but yeah, it was a great time to sit and chop it up with those guys and laugh. For about an hour and a half before we went back to surgery. I was pulled out first. I don't know if mine was a little bit more major, so you want to knock that one out first. So I was pulled out first, but I never saw those guys after them. But it was a lot of fun, to have those conversations and talk to Doc a little bit about how those guys tore those tendons, and he put it in my ear to how that occurs. But he's just gonna leave it at that.
That's awesome. Well, you know everybody. Again, these stories that we talk about before the show starts, I had to pull that in. So Matt is now saying that we are his new favorite podcast, which is awesome, Matt. Thank you. He's wondering, Marcus, do you think that Fog AFH, assume that's Fog Fieldhouse is louder than Hilton?
Nowhere close.
No, we've talked about this. You have an affinity for Fog Allen Fieldhouse, or is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You have an affinity for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than just a gym, but Hilton's louder.
Absolutely. There's no. I don't think I can even. Everything else seems to be the same or normal outside of the Hilton. The Hilton feels like it's smaller than what it really is by how loud it gets. I remember my last year, us beating Iowa, and, on a fast break, Jamal threw the pass, and I dunked the ball, and, just so hyped. And I could just feel the floor vibrating and just a gust of wind. And for a second, I stopped because it's almost like the sound barrier was broken in my ear because it got deafeningly silent. And then all of a sudden, the crowd just whooshed back up. And I started walking towards the bench because they called timeout. And at that moment, I realized, this place is ridiculous. It reminds me the years that I played over in Europe, how those fans are. What Jokic said, come on now, I played in Serbia. They're blowing horns, and I've seen those guys have car batteries with horns attached to it, just blowing the whole entire game. That's the feel and the sense that I get from, being in Hilton Magic, because those fans are extremely loud. Down there, they expect to win the game. So when you're beating Kansas, or you're competitive, or about to beat them, they're not as loud. So I never really too much got that down there.
All right, let's talk about the women here a little bit. Last week was also a brutal week for them. Now, in fairness, they were playing perhaps their toughest portion of their schedule, playing TCU and Kansas State. Lost to Kansas State 87-79, which really they played fairly well in a tough game, and then returned to Hilton, playing last weekend, losing to TCU. We're talking about two of the top teams in the Big 12, two of the top teams in really the country that they had to face. They lost to TCU 82-69. Women seem to be showing a little bit of promise, though. They showing a little bit of life tonight. If you haven't had a chance to watch, they just beat up on Cincinnati at Cincinnati, and they were missing Sydney Harris, who was out ill. Pretty much, I think everybody in the country is fighting something.
Right.
There's just illness going around. Ashley Jones stepped up tonight, 11 points, 9 rebounds at one point. I didn't go back in to look at stats, but she was playing really well. Ariana Jackson, 17 points. You know, I've always said I really like this team. I like both the men's and the women's team, but she may be my favorite player on this team. And I like them all, but she's tough. She can shoot. She defensively is scrappy. I just love her game overall. Audie was doing her Audie thing. She scored 18 tonight. Addie was Addie. She had like 31 points a couple games ago, had 9 points tonight, but 13 rebounds and 7 assists. So the women, really, this was a good bounce back game for them at Cincinnati. The remaining schedule, really, for the women, they're playing teams now that are in close proximity to them within the schedule, that as they're trying to get back into this Big 12 race and really into contention for that NCAA tournament, that this is going to be a key stretch here in this back half of the season if they're going to have any hope of getting into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, the 12 is what the 12 is for the men or for the women. So we always know we get stronger as the season, as the conference progresses. Really don't, pay attention to, the win-loss, the records and things like that. We know what you have to come through Hilton South, for the men or for the women, and that's when we start to pick up steam. So, as long as we keep playing the way the GOAT has, forced the ladies to go out there and to perform, we're not really too concerned about it. We just stay the course of the things that we got to do, play sound basketball, continue to get better, get healthy, and we see you when the tournament time starts.
So on Sunday, I was up at the game, and that Haley Van Lith played. She's really good. She's a good player. Was there a player that you, whether it was in college or the NBA, that you watched and you thought you were sitting on the bench or you played against and thought, that guy's pretty good, that you admired?
Yeah, there's quite a few guys. T-Mac was one of them. Some guys are just so effortlessly T-Mac 6'8", 6'9", long arms. Shots that look like it's not going to go in. Dunks look like he's not going to get to the rim. He's just pulling them off.
Which version? The Houston Rockets version or the Orlando Magic version?
Orlando Magic. Orlando. We were up. My rookie year, we was up by 30 against Orlando and lost by 30. I mean, it just, it was like, I remember AJ Guy was like, man, what happened? It's like, see 57 up on the board that says T-Mac up there. So, there's nothing you can really do about that. So guys like him, Kobe was Kobe. What you're going to get some guys with stuff like that. But I think T-Mac, for me, my hardest guard was Carmelo Anthony. He should have been playing a different position. He shouldn't have been the power forward, anything like that. But to me, that was the hardest guy. But he had to try to guard me too. So for me, those were one of the, him or I was always a big fan of Antoine Walker. We trained a lot together in Chicago, for his size and dribbling ability. You you give a lot of credit to the 4s and 5s of the games, of today's game, that can handle and stuff. But I'm like, y'all don't remember Cybertron. Cybertron was like, come on, I remember, Tyson Chandler starting with Eddie Curry, and we playing the Boston Celtics, and here we are, 4 minutes into the game. Bill Cartwright calling down there, Marcus, get out there. I'm like, what the hell you want me to do now? I got 14. He's scorching hot now. You want me to come off the bench and try to stop him? When Tyson couldn't stop him? Okay. So people don't remember those type of players and things like that, but it was quite a few of them. Quite a few. Jerry Stackhouse was one of the ones too. Yep.
And I can't let you go tonight. We had some big trades this week.
Ooh.
What are your thoughts on that Luka trade to the Lakers for Anthony Davis?
I don't know. It's kind of disappointing at the same time, but at the same time, I think and I hope for Luka, it lights a fire. Excuse me. I hope it lights a fire. I don't think he was 270. That seems a little far fetched to me to assume. I think he was 270. I think maybe he was in 250 range or whatever. But he has shown times and instances of not being in the shape that he should have been in, albeit still have the talent to do the things that he does. But when you're out of, and I was guilty of it a lot with injuries and stuff. When you're maybe 5 to 7 or 10 pounds heavier than what you should be, you start having those little soft tissue injuries, the strained calves and quads and stuff like that. But it looks like he's gotten in great shape, or better shape coming in now. Being with LeBron, I know. I think Dallas has probably woken the beast. With the talent and everything that he has. He's been first team All NBA 5 years straight. It's kind of weird to me because the Mavericks have a new owner. It's not no majority owner. It's not Mark Cuban anymore. It's the Allison, people from here, isn't it? The casino people. And so that's a big ticket from $350 million down to the twos. That he was eligible for. So
he can't sign that Supermax deal anymore. He lost $110 million by that trade,
and that's big, and that's big. So I think that's really going to light a fire up under him.
What's that like to be moved mid-season like this? Where I don't know if he was expecting it, and
absolutely not.
Being a player, does that just piss you off, or what are your thoughts? And take us inside of what that's like. Do you hear the news from the team? Do you hear from your agent?
Well, you hear a lot of rumblings and things like that. I was never a superstar on the level as him and anything like that. But or Anthony Davis, for that matter. But for both of them to be traded like in the middle of the night like that, just all of a sudden, two players that didn't expect them to be traded.
I thought it was a joke. I saw it come through and I thought, oh, come on.
A friend of mine from back home in Shreveport, Louisiana, he sent me a text. I said, man, there's no way that's true. And then, he sent me the link and everything like that. And so, I'm a big ChatGPT guy now. I even pay for the paid service. And so, it reported that it was true and everything that was going through. And I'm like, man, this is such a weird dynamic to even have. And so for Luka, being drafted by the Hawks and then traded to Dallas, and they just came off of a finals run. I never expected that to happen. Even if he was, treading the waters of doing some things that they didn't like. He's only 25 years old. He's the
franchise. He's the face of the franchise.
Right. So everybody want to know who won the trade. I think at the end of the day, when all is said and done, I think the Lakers probably got the best of this. Again, not to say that AD is a slouch or anything like that. He is, about 5-6 years older. But 10 years from now, I'll be well in my 50s, and Luka will still be playing basketball.
Yeah,
possibly at a high level.
Yeah, the Lakers just got a league MVP
Yeah.
5 or 6 time All NBA player that now has a chip on his shoulder and just lost out on $110 million super max deal. I mean, for crying out loud, I think the Lakers stole Luka from the Mavericks. 25 years old.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
So it's been a weird trade deadline. You know, Jimmy just got traded to the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah. Well, at least that one you knew was coming. I mean, that all the signs were pointed. Where the Luka Davis trade, you thought, no one saw that coming.
No one saw that coming at all. But you know, it's here now, and I'm excited to see. You know, I'm not that far from LA. I might be sliding out there here, so to watch some games.
That would be awesome. So, everyone, it's been great having you on tonight. And we're listening to the podcast through one of the platforms at double speed, I'm sure, of course. Get out there, cheer on. We've got some big games. Still have a lot to play for, both the men and the women. So it's important to cheer them on. You know, on the men's side, we got Momcilovic, who's likely within the next 10 days or so should be returning back to the lineup. And the women are starting to turn things around. At least it looks that way by the way that they play tonight and looking at the remainder of their schedule. So get out, cheer on those Cyclones. Thank you for allowing us to be in your ears tonight or on your screens. Thank you to our sponsors, Revelton Distilling Company and Green Beret Realty. And, of course, our studio sponsor, Andrew C. Downs and AKC Marketing. So, Marcus, have a great evening, and we'll catch everyone next time. Go Cyclones.
Cyclones.